What is going on, guys? This is obviously Jordan here, back in another video, and I did a video that you would have seen yesterday, I guess, about cold showers. I should really be in the shower now, but there's one more thing that I have to get off my chest. Yesterday, Pop Smoke, yesterday's album? It might have been 2 days ago, but within the last couple of days, like Pop Smoke's second posthumous, whatever album, came out. And to be fair, I was going to do another follow-up video on the hip-hop opinion corner video anyway. But I didn't really have enough stuff to say over like a 10-20 minute period. I only had like a few minutes of stuff to say. But this Pop Smoke thing is kind of giving me a bit more motivation to actually do this video. And I figured now's a good time to do it. I mean, I feel like in the last, couple of years we've seen, maybe even like the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen XXXTENTACIon, you know, Lil Peep, Mac Miller, Pop Smoke, of course, there was one more, Nipsey Hussle, a bunch of hip-hop artists have passed or been murdered, or, you know, Juice WRLD as well. And I've never really thought twice about how the industry works. You know, when Michael Jackson passed, he had all these different albums, I didn't really think about it. But the more I grow up, and the more I start to appreciate these artists and the artistic values they offer, and think about them as human beings as well, I start to really think differently, you know, about how I perceive these albums after they passed, and how the industry handles them. Most of this video is going to come it's like my love-hate relationship with hip-hop. And I do realise, since the last video, that a lot of the problems aren't strictly specific to hip-hop. A lot of them are quite industry-related. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of strange to me. One thing that I do want to point out before I go into more depth about like Pop Smoke's album, is that I put up a statistic, like a little sheet up last time. And I'm surprised that, I didn't miss it, but I didn't mention it, which I feel like I should have at the time, and I didn't. So one thing to know about that graph that basically shows, you know, the average age of death between different artists from different genders across different genres, is that a lot of hip-hop artists, hip-hop really came into prominence, it really became popular within the last 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. There's a reason why a lot of the hip-hop artists have died at a young age, because it's literally a newer genre of music compared to like jazz and some of these other brands that have been around for longer periods of time. There's no telling if, I mean, a lot of the top, you know, the big dogs, even if you think about even the old school big dogs, they're literally still alive today. Nas, Jay-Z, Andre 2000, Rakim, you know, I forgot her name, Miss Lauryn Hill, some of the you know, the greatest of this generation, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, they've also passed that like 32 years bracket. I think that was right, that was suggested, you know, that was implied even by that report. But that's not really being quoted on, because they're all, of course, still alive. That the availability of data there for hip-hop artists isn't accurate yet. So it's not literally the case that all hip-hop artists just die young. But it is interesting, at least, to understand that there are differences in genres. It's not like a correlation per se, but it's just something I kind of put that in the video to like reference more than to like say this is fact. But moving on, I have a couple of other notes actually from that video that I wanted to get off. That was the main thing. And yeah, the only other thing that I want to talk about, which is why I didn't think there was much going on, but it's like hip-hop is a reflection on society in many ways. Like, it's literally a lot of our hip-hop artists, well, you know, they're artists in America, these are guys that were born and raised on the streets. Like, they came from areas where they see things differently. They all have unique perspectives on life and, you know, society and etc. So hip-hop in many ways is a reflection of society, not its own thing. And I said a similar thing in the football video, that football in many ways is a reflection of society. Like, you see different facets of people engaging with hip-hop, with football, and that's a reflection of what is really going on outside. When you hear like Kendrick's album, he's not just talking about black lives for no reason. He's not talking about politics for no reason. J. Cole's, well, not this project, but his one, you know, KOD, talking about drugs. That wasn't just completely random. It was all synonymous with what was going on at the time. And I think that's a very interesting thing to observe, and that's a very interesting thing. I think that's kind of what keeps me engaged in hip hop, because it's like a commentary. A lot of artists just commentate on what's going on in real time, and it's a good way to see what's going on, but in the words of someone else. Of course, back in June last year, you had, you know, the tragic murder of George Floyd. Literally all of my favorite artists put out a song around that time. Trey Songz put out a song. I think Eric Bellinger put out a song. Lil Baby put out a song. Elijah Blake remade one of his older songs. So many tracks came out. Vic Mensa, so many tracks came out. Her, you know, detailing what was going on. Everyone giving their own thoughts and perspectives and experiences. Of course, Childish Gambino put out This Is America like a year prior to that, kind of alluding to the type of world that we live in. And it's difficult to separate yourself, well, not to separate yourself, that's a bad word, but it's difficult for me to like turn a blind eye to hip-hop and be like, oh, I don't like that, when in many ways it's not a thing itself. It's just something that, it's a genre of music. It's not like these specific artists belong to this group. It's literally just a genre of music. And to me personally, the way I see it, there's nothing but like hip hop is one of, if not the greatest genre of, like, the way it just intertwines itself with everything that's going on, like the running commentary, I love it. I think it's incredible. But that's kind of, you know, I realize now that I don't hate hip hop in like any meaningful way, but the industry and the whole monetary side of it is what's interesting, and that's how we meander into the topic of like Pop Smoke's latest album. So one thing that has always kind of bothered me is like how albums work, sequencing. Is it just like a list of songs, or is it like an actual like a playlist, or is it actually like a narrative, a conceptual album? This is why I've always liked artists like Logic, Joey Badass, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. Gee, what's going on with me? More than like other artists, because even though there's nothing wrong with, you can make the music is technically just like sounds that you interpret, but I like albums that are well sequenced. I like albums that are rolled out in a good, like properly rolled out. I like albums that have a clear narrative. Like the first song, the middle song, the last song is usually just very, very good. There's no need to attach like a nostalgia to this album. There's no need to attach a feeling to it, or to like think about some girl or whatever. It's like literally just this, Good Kid, Mad City, or like To Pimp a Butterfly. You know what you're gonna get, yeah, and you can follow it on from track to tracks. Some of Kendrick's albums you can like play backwards, and Lupe Fiasco's got an album that's designed to like play backwards as well. And it's like you just want. Like I want to know, what are you talking about? It's kind of like spoken word or poetry, but in a written up and rapped and sounded sonically to a way that you can actually listen to. Miss Lauryn Hill's album, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Some phenomenal projects out there. But as times have changed and we're getting more and more to Spotify and these like streaming services, we're in a generation now of playlists where you don't actually need to have a good album. You just need like one or two good tracks that they can put on this playlist that will get you all your streams, and that's kind of all you need to do nowadays. There's no pressure to, as Logic, would say, there's no pressure to do things like the way the Logics do it, to have like a well sequenced album from beginning to end with like this song switching into that one and transitions and this and that and specific features and telling this message and that story. There's no need to overthink it. Like if you just want to get paid, just have a couple of good tracks. Put out, as Chris Brown's been doing, put out an album with 45 tracks. Let the people pick the ones that they like the most, and then that will work. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not. I mean, I just prefer albums I prefer listening to. I'm an album man, not a singles man. But that is something that is very much shown, and it's kind of enabled the dark side of hip hop to kind of re-emerge itself in a way that you have Pop Smoke's album where. I know for a fact, I've seen, I can't remember the guy's name, but like the guy who produced a lot of Pop Smoke's work literally tweeted, he's like, don't at me about any of this stuff, because I had no idea it was dropping. A lot of Pop's close friends are saying that I didn't even know it was coming, and it's very much, this is very much a symptom of how the industry works. The industry is like, you know what, we own Pop Smoke's, vocals at least, we need to make money, how can we envelope this, a couple of verses from this track, some verses from that track, some verses from here, how can we get some other features involved, put Kanye on this one, Lil Uzi Vert on that one, and just put out an album, call it a Pop Smoke album, and get the money rolling in. I haven't even listened to it yet, but as soon as I clicked on it, I was like, first of all, I didn't even know this was coming. Then I clicked on it, I'm like, okay, there's like 20 or 21 tracks. This one's got a feature, that's got a feature, that's got a feature. All of them, apart from like 5. Well, one, there's an interlude, so technically 6, but basically 5 tracks are just Pop Smoke, and the other ones are just pure features. And if you listen to them as well, it's like it'll be Pop Smoke on the chorus, and then the feature will be going over. Like, it's literally like 10%, 15% of the album's actually Pop Smoke. He's a feature on his own album, and I'm like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like I haven't actually gone through all the tracks as I was saying. I kind of just looked at it and said, I'm not going to do this. But I just think it's sad. You also look at how XXXTentacion's passing was handled. They put out a bunch of projects in his name, and I know for a fact I didn't even get into X much until after he passed. Similar with Nipsey Hussle, but it's like with a lot of these artists, you can just tell like if they were around, that album never would have come out the way it did. Like there was no way Pop Smoke would have signed off on 16 features, 14 features. Well, it's 14 songs with features on them. I think there's about 28 different people because there's like 2 or 3 features per song. But it's like there's literally no way. If you listen to his first 3 albums and Meet the Woo, there's like 1, 2, 3 features on there, and it's like Nicki Minaj and Skepta on a remix. It's not even throughout the course of the album. Most of the songs are his songs. There's just like 3 features on there. I don't know, man. That's something that really annoys me about the hip-hop industry. I'm not going to go into it at length because I don't think I have the expertise or haven't done the reading around it to have a well-thought-out opinion. But I guess my follow-up on my love-hate relationship with hip-hop video is that the bigger problem, at least from my perspective, is the industry. You see guys like Joyner Lucas going independent. I mean, I don't really listen to Tory Lanez, but he's, of course, has a similar beef that went on at the time. He's not with a label anymore. all these guys are just saying like the labels just ain't doing it for me. Logic on one of his albums, like, you know, much love to Def Jam, even though they undershipped me. You know, they messed them up. A lot of these labels, they don't actually care about the artist. They sign as many people as they can, and they say, look, all we need is like 6 guys to do very, very well. The rest of you guys, whatever. We're happy to firm a loss on you lot. We just need to make the money from these guys. And in the case of Pop Smoke, who tragically, you know, was murdered, they're like, we still got to make our money. We still own these vocals, so we're just gonna do whatever we want. We don't care about pop. We don't care about its legacy. We don't care about how the album sounds. Just put the album out, get the streams, get the bread. You know, put on some random artist for the sake of just having this random guy featured with Pop Smoke. Like, it looks good for his career. That will boost the rest of the guys on our label, and call it a day. Like, they don't actually give an F, and that's what really bothers me about the hip hop industry. And it's not literally, again, to do with hip hop. It's more of a music industry thing in general. But I think it's more evident, you know, it's easier to see, to observe in a genre that I actively track and follow. And I think it's especially sad that you see like a young black man was murdered. In the case of XXXTENTACION as well, another, you know, young black man was murdered. And the first thing these guys think is, how can I make my money? You know, how can I make money the quickest possible way? They could have very easily put out 10 pop songs and just had just pop on it, no features. Like, they literally just put out Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, and that was actually a good album. It wasn't like, I still had a bit of a sour taste in my mouth about it, but in general, like, I actually enjoyed that project. Now just make it authentic, you know. With Michael Jackson's album Escape that came out, they put 10 tracks of like actual Michael Jackson tracks, and then 10 remixed and remade tracks of like Timbaland, who just did what he did, had Justin Timberlake feature on there. Like, that was a good album. I enjoyed Escape. Much more than I enjoyed Michael, which was like half of the songs weren't even him singing. It was like an impersonator. I was going to say imposter, but I've been playing a bit too much Among Us. But you know what I mean? It's like, this the way the industry handles it, and the way they kind of interfere with people's lives and their legacies. Like, I get it, like, the fans want what the fans want. That's different, but it just doesn't sit right with me, man. I for a fact am not going to go back to that Pop Smoke album, and there are several other albums, like, you know, XXXTentacion I'm not going to go back to. Nip, I think they handled Nip's passing quite well. I think they handled Mac Miller's posthumous album well, but there are just certain ways you kind of see, it's very clear to see like who cares about who once they're passed. Like, how would people handle these certain things? Juice WRLD is one as well that I think they handled relatively well. So it's just about, I don't know, it's a moral thing to me. I'm not going to condone anyone for listening to or not listening to whatever album. Like, you can do what you want. I just think hip hop's a bit crazy, and I think the industry, I don't know what to do. Like, I really want to have these follow-up videos where I have like a clear, actionable step at the end of it, as I've got planned for my other 2 videos. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it's time, if anything, it's time for artists to appreciate their value as individuals. You know, you no longer need to take like a artist-driven, like a numbers-driven game. From now on, I think people should try and have more of a value-driven perspective. Like, how can I please the fans? How can I do me, right by me and my people? You don't necessarily need a label for that. If you do feel you need a label, then I get it. But at least do your due diligence. Like, get your lawyers, get lawyered up, read the contracts, find out what happens in given situations, who owns what. You know, when you pass, what happens? How quickly can you expect your album to come out? If there's another artist dropping on this day, are you going to get first preference, or are they going to put your art back? Because I think was it Queen Niger or something? There was some artist, I can't remember who it was, a female artist, who was complaining, like, I've been trying to put out music out for years, but the label just keep putting it back because of some other nonsense. And is that something that you want to risk being on the fringes of, or do you want to just be able to put music out and call it a day? I don't know. I don't have the answer to these questions. You know, unfortunately, I'm not in the music industry, but it's something that will continue to bother me. Shout out to Evan, who's my one friend in the music industry, and we'll see how things evolve over time. I definitely think labels are maybe not at the peak, but there's definitely people are starting to look at labels differently now, and it will be interesting to observe to see how artists of the future react and how they handle their own business moving forward. It's very possible that Universal and Sony and these guys will just stay at the top and people just keep signing onto them. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. At least as far as the UK is concerned, I want to see more UK artists kind of doing their own thing and being successful at that. But yeah, that's about all I have. I also have more positive things to say, but it's just a bit crazy right now. That's the end of this video. I really need to get into my cold shower. No, I don't want to have to do it, but I'm going to have to do it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.